So some introverts shy away from anything that resembles group activity. That includes speaking, definitely, sharing any type of personal information, or praying, testimony service. Anything like that is really uncomfortable for most introverts. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I want to talk to you today about introverts in the church. Introverts in the church. Now, the first question I've got is, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Let me answer that question for myself, and you could go ahead and answer the question too, right? Because some people understand what this is and some don't, but I'm an introvert. Yes, I'm an introvert. Okay, and so with that, the next question is, what is an introvert or an extrovert? So basically, introverts recharge the energy inside. The introverts love to be inside. They love their own company. They love being on the inside. They like being at home. Extroverts are opposite. Extroverts get recharged around people. They like to go out. They like having a good time. They like to have fun. They like to be with people. And for the most part, introverts do not. It all depends on the situation. They can be around friends and family, people that they know. But introverts do not like being around strangers. It makes them very uncomfortable. So for the most part, introverts like their own company, and like I said, they stay at home and relax, and that's where they get the energy from, and that's where they get the inspiration. They feel good about that. When they're not able to do that, life can be very challenging, to say the least. Okay, so that's the difference between the introverts and the extroverts. Extroverts like being outside, like being around people, like to meet new people, and they get a buzz from doing that. So that's the difference. The other question is, how does it affect you? Okay, or how does it affect who you are, and what you do? Now, let me say this. It's not easy being an introvert. Okay, so I have to first ask God for help in accomplishing any task that I have to accomplish. Anything that's in front of me, I have to really pray and seek God to get the job done. Okay, because like I said, it's not easy. Now I have to fight against my very own impulses to stay away from people, because a lot of times I don't really want to be around people. And not that I have a problem being around people. Sometimes it's just not my desire. But the funny thing about it is I find it very, very easy to be in front of a big crowd. A small one, not so much. But somehow, being in front of a big crowd, I'm pretty much comfortable. And I'm talking about like speaking engagements. I find that I'm quite comfortable. And that's kind of weird, right? But I'm much more comfortable in that setting. So some introverts shy away from anything that resembles group activity. That includes speaking, definitely, sharing any type of personal information, or praying, testimony service. Anything like that is really uncomfortable for most introverts. But you need to understand, though, that it's just not an easy thing. And introverts don't like being singled out to do anything, because it's like the spotlight is on you, and you don't want that. You don't want people looking at you. You're the main one that's sharing, and people are looking at you. Introverts get extremely uncomfortable in that kind of setting. All right. So, and a lot of people don't understand that, but that's just the way introverts are, But I believe that introverts are very smart people. Introverts tend to really think a lot and analyze stuff a lot. So, yeah. But I've I've become accustomed to that scenario, so it doesn't really bother me much, especially I'm in a familiar place. Okay. So that's just the way it is for me, but I do know that God has called me to teach and to preach at times. And so it's funny. I don't know why, being an introvert, I don't know why, especially when I've got to be in a public setting and talk to people. But I do know that God has given me what I need, the strength and the power to accomplish this feat, because I believe that's what He has called me to do. So yeah, for me, it's not that hard. But I do know in general, introverts have a problem with, public settings and being around strangers, being around people that they don't know. And it's funny, you can be in a crowd and still feel like you're all alone. And that's the way I feel. And I know other introverts talk about that. Being in a crowd and feeling like it's like you're somewhere, and just like, even though the people around you, somehow you feel unconnected to everything that's going on, unconnected to the people. You feel lonely. It's just one of the things that only I don't know. I can't explain it any more than how I feel it. I could tell you how I feel, but you check out YouTube. We got introverts talking about just the dynamic of a day-to-day life of being an introvert and going to work and being among people and all those things. But the other question is then, why does it seem so easy for some introverts to open up while others stay a bit guarded? Exactly what I was talking about. And, one thing for sure, you can't compare people. People will be people. And even though introverts, for the most part, they have the same characteristics, it's just for some people, it's easier to do certain things while others find it more difficult to do that very same thing. So it's just one of those dynamics where I think that you've got introverts who are a little extroverted, and so some things that a person who's totally an introvert will have a problem with, a person who's a bit extroverted won't have a problem with it. It's easier for them to go out and hang out and stuff, but still at times they want to recharge. I'll tell you one thing that introverts like to do though. There are times when we want to just spend time by ourselves, so we'll shut down. No phone calls, no texts, nothing, no communication, and probably do that for a day or two. And once we recharge, we're good to go. And a lot of people don't understand the dynamic that introverts need to be by themselves. Introverts don't need people, in a sense, to feel fulfilled. You see what I'm saying? They don't need people to feel fulfilled. Extroverts do. So they're always looking for the next best thing, the next best get together, next best party to make them feel good. While introverts, what they do need is alone time. So yeah, but I can't really tell you for sure. I can't answer the question, because like I said, we're all different and dynamics play out differently for different people. Okay, but it might have to do also with the environment. Okay, the people that they associated themselves with, people that they're around, determines if that person is very comfortable in that setting or not. Okay, because I know for sure that the more you know people, the easier it is to be around them and the more comfortable you are. I think the problem that we have is that when we're in groups of people, especially like I said, small groups, when you're in small groups of people and you probably don't know nobody, it is very difficult because you feel like people are judging you, and that's a strange feeling, but I know that most introverts I speak to talk about the same thing. They just feel like singled out. They just feel like somehow the attention is on them, even though it's not. You feel like people are looking at you. People are judging you by what you're saying, by what you're not saying, the way you dress, the way you look. I've gotten that all my life, so I understand the dynamic. And like I said, I'm sorry if I'm rambling on, but I've heard other introverts talk about that. So I'm trying to explain how introverts are. And church setting is not an easy place for introverts. It's not easy because a lot of times introverts would like to sit back and listen. They don't want to take part. They don't want to be the one who giving the answers to questions and stuff. They want to just sit back and they'll be the one. But when everybody's asked to participate and say something, Some introverts can find that very, very difficult because they don't want to speak. They just want to be there and just listen. Yeah. And so those are some of the things. Because the next question, well, what do introverts struggle with? Those are the type of dynamics that they struggle with: being in crowds, having to participate in crowds, having to do things that bring attention to them, that type of stuff. It's very, very, very problematic for most introverts. They hate crowds. But like I said earlier, for me, I'm more comfortable. Even if I'm at a strange place, but I got a huge crowd and I got to speak, for some reason I'm not as nervous. But I got a smaller crowd, I'm a bit more nervous. Why, I don't know. But most introverts hate public speaking. They do, because at times I do, depending again on the situation. And introverts hate to share personal information, especially to strangers, people that they don't know. They don't want to have to tell you about their life. They don't want to have to tell you personal stuff, because as far as they're concerned, it's none of your business. So they don't want to talk about it. And so because of that, they feel like people are going to judge them by the stuff that they say, by the stuff that they do. At every turn, an introvert feels like he or she is being judged. So definitely testimony service in church is not going to be a good one, because they certainly don't want to speak. They certainly don't want to say anything. Okay? So, and what's worse is when you feel compelled, when you feel like you have to do it, then the nervousness just goes up another notch, because like, oh my God, what am I going to say? It's extroverts is okay. They like talking about themselves. They like being the center of attraction and the center of attention. So it's okay. But for introverts, it's the opposite. So it's definitely nerve-wracking, to say the least, to be in a situation like that. Okay. So introverts struggle with having. Hey, you know what? Introverts struggle with having to leave their homes and associate with people many, many, many times. Sometimes just going to church on a Sunday morning could be, for whatever reason, they just feel anxious and nervous. So going to school, going to places where you got to meet a lot of people. A lot of introverts will prefer to stay home and not even show up, not even show their face, because the anxiety level is so high. Why? I don't know. I just don't know. But when everything inside you is telling you, stay home, don't go. It's tough. Like I said earlier, you got to fight your impulses and do what you know that you need to do. And for introverts, excitement can be too much. You see, you got in church and you got the greeting, and you got to go around and people are greeting and talking and stuff. It's not always the best situation for an introvert, especially if you're in a church that you don't know a lot of people. Meeting and greeting, and especially if it goes on for a long time, and then you got to meet and talk to all these different people. No. We do not do well in that type of setting. I can tell you that. If you're an introvert, any introverts that are watching this video, please let me know if I'm telling the truth. Okay, please, because that's how I feel, and I've heard other people talk about that. I want to know what you feel. I want to know, your comments concerning what I'm saying right now, because I know most introverts will become pretty much exhausted with this type of exposure. Okay, introverts, for the most part, they do enjoy some physical contact, but when it comes to a prolonged type of situation, no, it's time to head for the hills as far as I'm concerned. It becomes too much. It becomes too much. And it's funny because I can stay in my house, I can stay in my room for days and really don't do nothing. Just probably reading, being on my computer, praying, watching TV, sometimes not much, and that's it. I don't have to go out. And it might sound crazy to an extrovert, but it's true. Extroverts, they got to come out the house. They can't do it like what I do. They say, oh, your life is boring. It's not. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I am good where I'm at. But they got to go out because they're like, oh, this is too much for me. I gotta go do something. But I don't have to do anything. So if here's another question. So if introverts like being in the background, then what are their strengths? And like I said earlier, introverts are good listeners. Okay? I believe that introverts will make some of the best therapists and counselors simply because they're very empathetic, okay, and they can be counted on in situations of grief and loss and where people need to talk. Because they can listen. They don't have to speak. They let you do the talking. And if they do speak, it's here and there, important things that they think they need to say or ask. But other than that, they're going to listen. So I believe that introverts are excellent like that. And I believe that introverts will probably make some of the best authors. Why? Introverts are always thinking, analyzing stuff. You see what I'm saying? They're looking at things a way that other people are not looking at it. Okay? Because they're introspective. The stuff is always going on. Trying to figure out, okay, let me see what's this. Let me understand this for myself. See, and introverts don't really take a lot of stuff at face value. They analyze it. They look at it, they see it, but they want to know, okay, I got to go a little deeper with this. Let me figure out what's behind this. And the next question and the last question is this. How can you be a public speaker and be an introvert? And that's a good question. But like I said, God called me to this. And so I trust him to bring me through all this. When I have to speak, it's his desire for my life. I know it's weird, but it's what he has called me to do. And so, like I said, when I've got to do it and I'm in front of crowds, huge crowds, I'm comfortable. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm comfortable. Small crowds, like I said earlier, make me a little more antsy, but big crowds, I'm good. I'm good. So I know for a fact that because I'm comfortable, it lets me know that this is what God has called me to do. All right, listen. The Bible says that God uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise and the weak things to confound the mighty things. Listen, I can't explain it, but this is exactly what God does. And you can find that passage, I believe, in 1 Corinthians 1:27. 1 Corinthians 1:27. So it's amazing that some things that just don't make sense to us, this is what God uses to bring about his glory, because the Bible says that God will not share his glory with no other. So he uses that type of situation to get the glory out of your life, to prove that, hey, look, this is me who's working in you, because you of yourself cannot accomplish this. And it's so true. Because if it was up to me, I'd be going the other way. I'd be doing something totally different. Me, in front of people, talking, even doing this, I wouldn't do it. But because I believe that God has called me to do it, that's why I do it. All right, so do me a favor. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And click the bell icon so as not to miss any new videos when they're posted. All right, I want you to leave your comments and also like and share the videos, please, so that YouTube will recommend them to more people. Remember, there's freedom in truth. I am William Nelson Ryan, and I will see you next time. God bless you, and take care.